Oh, I tell you, it's chilly out there. The all clears just sounded, and why am I in black and white, I hear you cry? Well, let me first by saying welcome back to another Just Kane. I know you haven't seen me since before Christmas, and that's because I've been stuck here in 1940. Well, 1939 to 1940. Today is the 8th of January 1940. Today we were just issued with our ration books, and we're going to be going through those ration books to see what food we can get later. Now I've got to try and find a way to get back to 2020. I don't know how we're going to do that. We're going to do that by the magic of editing. I'm going to fly back to 2020 in a few moments. But I have been out and about, and I've gathered some fantastic pictures of CREWE in 1940. During the war, Gresty Road was very badly hit by bombs during the war, and even part of the pub was damaged during that period, so that's quite a scary thought. There were some wonderful posters around, Dig for Britain, and Your Country Needs You, and of course, Loose Lips Sink Ships. Thankfully, I didn't tell anybody here in 1940 that we did actually win the war, so don't want to change history. So let's fly back to 2020 through the magic of editing, and let's get on with our vlog. And what am I going to do today? Well, as I've been on a trip to 1940, I thought, well, we'd do one about rationing. Now, rationing here in the UK was a big thing because, lots of food were rations, like meat, dairy, sugar, because, there just wasn't, we weren't getting imports from other countries. Foods that were missing from 1940 were things like oranges, bananas, pineapples, poor women, the nylon stockings that women wore, they were in very short supply. I believe later in the war, some Americans join us and they bring us the lovely leggings over. But how ladies made it look like they were still wearing tights and stockings was a really clever trick. They doused their legs in gravy browning and made their legs brown with gravy browning, and then drew a seam with an eye pencil up the backs of their legs. Fascinating. But let me see if I can get back to 2020. Hello there. Well, we made it back to 2020. And here is my ration book. This was a ration book from 1940. And in the ration book, what you did, as you can see, I've used some of mine. Well, because I had to eat while I was there. I mean, please. I mean, what did you want me to do? Starve? So you would take these little coupons and you would take them to the grocers, and they would give you what you could have. So you had all these little tokens. And each little token you could use on different things. And they would give you your daily rations, you see, and you'd put the retailer's name there, and they would say what you've had. So it was a record of it. So it was quite fascinating. But now I'm back in 2020. What I thought we would do is we would try and recreate those rationed foods that were around in 1940 to see what we could get. And I'm going to cook what would have been a Sunday lunch during the period of rationing. So, but first of all, now I'm back in 2020, I've got to have a shave, got to have a shower, Because, I mean, honestly, sanitation in 1940 was not good. You know, I mean, they only bathed once a week, and honest to God, you had to do it in a tin bath. It was horrendous. Honestly, if you ever bathed in a tin bath, it's not good. You can't stretch your legs out, can't relax. Oh, it's horrible. Don't do it. Anyway, so I'm going to go and have a shower, get changed, because I'm, you know, still in this jumper I wore in 1940, you know, when, oh, goodness gracious. So let's get on with that. Then I'm going to go down to the butcher's here in CREWE, which is still here, which that butcher's was actually there in 1940, but it's now owned by different people. But we're going to go down to the butcher's and we're going to see if we can get stuff that was on rationed. And we're going to bring it home and I'm going to lay it all out for you so you can all see what sort of food you would have had in 1940. So we're off down Nanswich Road today and we're on our way to the butcher's, as you know, for our first New Year review. We are doing a World War II food review. So the rules are, I can only buy what would have been available during World War II in the ration book. And then we're going to go home and see if we can locate a recipe for something to do with this food. Because I want to show that you don't actually need an awful lot of food to actually cook something really nutritious and tasty. Oh, losing the light for some reason. It's quite weird. Hello. Can I help you? Who knows who that was? Let's see. You're right.
That's right.
Oh, lovely. Hello.
Hi.
You're open.
Yeah, well, we are. Depends what you want.
Ah, right. Well, I'm filming a food review today, and I'm doing a World War II food review. So I need only the ingredients that were rationed. I've got it here. Now it's quite odd. Now for a one person, apparently I was allowed to have 4 ounces of bacon and ham.
Yeah.
And I was allowed the equivalent of 1 shilling or 2 pence worth of other meat, which is the equivalent of 2 chops.
Right.
So, you are.
Wow.
I know it was
Well,
such.
you money, didn't you?
Well, you got a well, not really. And do you do cheese, margarine, or cooking fat?
We do cheese and dripping.
Oh, I think we can do dripping. Oh, I think we'll do some dripping.
So now. However, right. Till Tuesday. Yes.
Till Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay, well we're not doing dripping then because they've sold out till Tuesday. But if you could do me 4 ounces of ham and bacon.
We've got some ham, sorry. We've got some bacon.
Oh, well, bacon it is then. Obviously there was, you know, we're getting the true authentic taste here of what it would have been like. True authentic. Oh, but they do eggs. Now, I'm going to take a whole patch of eggs, but if we were under rationing, I would have been allowed just 1.
A week.
A week. And I would have been allowed £1 every 2 months of preserves. So,
Preserves.
that would have been these ones.
Jams. Yeah.
Jams. Now I don't know how much a pound would have been, because obviously maths was never my strong point.
Pound.
Yeah.
Like in money.
Well, no, a pound as in weight.
Wait. This is 450 grams, so I don't know what one of them weighs.
Let's have a look.
They are 312 grams in one of these jars.
Right, so we'll so
it's
around.
like 3/4 of a pound.
Yeah, so that's so we'll take 2 then of those.
strawberry and... Ooh.
So what's this in aid of?
This is for my YouTube channel.
Oh, right.
Have I got strawberry jam there? And we're doing a World War II food review, and I'm only allowed to have, for today's, to bake something, is what would have been around, what I would have been allowed on my weekly rationing. This has taken quite a lot of research, this is, because, you know, they don't like advertising this, you know. So, I've got to buy a whole 6 because I can't ask him to just sell me 1 egg, because that's just rude. This is why this is my favourite butcher's. Unfortunately, I can only ever come on a Saturday. So, other meat-wise, I'm allowed the equivalent of 2 chops. Doesn't say what chops, though.
Lamb chops. Pork.
So,
I think lamb's probably the best.
would that have been quite authentic?
Yes.
Yeah?
More so than
Anything else?
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have 2 chops then, because I'm allowed that. Now you don't do tea, do you?
Tea, no.
No. And you can't buy loose tea. And you haven't got any cheese in?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all packed up, the cheese, is that?
There might be 1 or 2 pieces that are suitable, depends how much.
I'm allowed 2 ounces.
No, we haven't got anything that small.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
I think cheese slices would be sufficient for that.
2 ounces is not a lot of cheese.
It really isn't, and I don't have any scales at home, so
There we go, that's your shots.
we'll just have to guess.
Is that everything?
That is everything.
Thank you.
Right, so
960 degrees.
do you take cards?
So, we're now back from the butcher's, and we've managed to secure all of our rationed goods, and I will show you them now. Over here would have been your dairy and your tea and coffee. You'd have been allowed 2 ounces of sugar, 2 ounces of tea, 3 pints of milk, 2 ounces of butter or 4 ounces of margarine, and 4 ounces of baking grease or dripping or cooking fat. You'd have been allowed 1 egg and an allowance of powdered egg, but I couldn't get powdered egg for love nor money. Now, meat-wise, you would have got 2 rashers of bacon and the equivalent meat of 2 lamb chops. And you'd have also got an ounce of ham, but the butchers didn't have any today. And you would have also got 2 ounces of cheese, which is about that much. I've tried to make sure that the amounts are as accurate as possible to give you a true representation. You also would have been allowed a pound of preserves, which is the equivalent to 2.5 jars of jam or preserves, such as chutney, anything of that nature, applesauce, anything that's preserved. You would have been allowed a pound of that. You'd also, for children, there was also a sweet allowance, but what there would have been is, during that time, would have been a Dig for Britain campaign. Now, I've chosen today for this weekly what a single man like myself would have had in the cupboard during World War II. So we'd have had leeks, cauliflower, carrots, vegetables of different descriptions, mushrooms would have been available. But that's about it. That is what your weekly food cupboard would have looked like. Bit bare, isn't it? A bit bare. So what we can see from the rationed goods is that although meat and dairy products and things that we take for granted here in 2020 were very rationed, like sugar, tea, meat, eggs, milk, those sort of things were in very short supply. You can see with the abundance of vegetables that we have in front of us that you weren't going to starve to death. And in fact, what is really notable about the diet of those that lived in 1940 is that it is probably 100 times healthier than anything than the diets that we now live on today. I mean, it was an abundance of fresh vegetables. I mean, with the Dig for Britain, Dig for Victory campaigns that ran all over the UK, every spare bit of land in the UK was dug up to provide food for the nation. I think that was really telling of the fighting spirit of the British nation, that we weren't going to let a small thing like a war stop us from eating healthily. And there were some rather unique recipes. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is what I learned was one of the most staple foods for people of a low income like myself would have eaten. A lot of the time it would have been a stew or a stew. And there was a thing about wasting food. You didn't waste food. Even the potato peelings and the peelings from your vegetables weren't wasted. They didn't go on a compost heap. Most houses that had a garden would have had a couple of chickens. Most gardens that were large enough would have had a pig or two in the garden to provide that extra meat for the household and for the rest of the streets. And quite often groups of neighbours would club together to buy a pig, and they would raise this pig and they would slaughter this pig, and they would all have a quarter of this pork themselves. This really helped boost up what was available on the dinner table in a neighbourhood. And quite often with fresh chickens, the eggs, although they were rationed, you still had a good supply of fresh eggs. But food was not wasted. So any leftover meals, any leftovers from meals, weren't wasted like we would waste them today and scrape them into our compost bin. Oh no, that's not what would have happened. They would have been put in the fridge, they would have been saved, and they would have made something called leftover stew. And that's what we're going to make today. We're going to make a leftover stew today. So I'm not going to show you the whole cooking process because, well, you know, we're just not, because nobody really wants to see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a leftover stew with some of the leftovers that are actually in my fridge today. And we're going to have a look at that, and we're going to actually see what that actually tasted like. I can't imagine it's going to taste grand, but then in the grand scheme of things, what you hadn't got, you couldn't waste. So let's have a look at that. Hi, so we've made our leftover stew. I used some vegetables from a meal I had a couple of nights ago. I used one of the chops, some rosemary, some thyme, that were all available in that time. And the recipe said to use some potatoes, so I did. But they said to help thicken, you were to use the water from the potatoes, which I did. Now they did this because everything was used. I mean, you didn't waste anything that you were using, because it was so valuable that even the water in the potatoes was valuable nutrients. So you didn't waste it. So neither did I. I followed the idea. And the idea I got from this book was from this one, you see, the Ration cookery book. And it's got all sorts of useful little things in there, like corned beef, like cakes to make with very low butter, mock fish cakes. It's got all sorts of fabulous things in this book. And it's available from most bookshops. So, you know, if you really want to get into cooking from the past, you know, this is a book to go and get. There we are. So, now I'm going to try this. I don't know what it's going to be like. Here it is. It's actually really nice. Oh yeah. It's not spicy. It's lacking in some salt, but then salt was of a premium back then. So, you know, you did what you could, basically. And, you know, that's the important thing. You did what you had to do. It's actually really nice. I'm actually going to eat all of that. And it's actually really healthy. So, there we are. So I hope you've enjoyed watching my vlog as much as I've enjoyed making it. So from me to you, obviously if you've liked the video, don't forget to go and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to give me a like and send me a beautiful comment. And, you know, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Snapchat. Follow me in the street. No, don't do that because it's considered stalking and it's illegal. And, you know, God bless to you all, and I love you all very much. And remember my motto, don't dream it, be it. Life is yours to make. So from me to you, bye-bye.